Willkommen zu unserer RomnoKher-Ausgabe zum Thema Putins Invasionskrieg und die Situation der Roma-Minderheit in der Ukraine. Zu Gast habe ich heute Romni Abgeordnete des Europaparlaments, und Zola Kondur. Sie ist Romni. Sie ist Gründerin von Women Found Circle und unterstützt ein landesweites Netzwerk von Bildungsmediatoren. Sie ist aus Kiev geflüchtet und steht uns heute online aus Berlin zugeschaltet zur Verfügung. Lieber Romeo, ein von Russland geführter Angriffskrieg gegen die Ukrainerinnen und Ukrainer innerhalb von Europa. Wie ordnest du das politisch ein?
Also es mit einem Wort zu sagen, fatal. Die Situation ist nun für uns alle mehr als kritisch, weil Putin als Aggressor und Angreifer und hier in die Ukraine eingefallen ist, unberechenbar ist mit dem, was er tut und was seine Pläne sind. Er droht ja tatsächlich auch mit Atomwaffen und wir müssen wirklich hier in höchster Alarmbereitschaft sein. Es ist tatsächlich alles möglich.
Wie ordnet man das ein, dass diese Abschreckungsmechanismen, Atom auch einzusetzen? Wie ordnet das die Europäische Union ein? Wie ernst muss man das nehmen?
Also ich bin davon überzeugt, dass die Europäische Union diesen Angriff der Ukraine, also von Russland auf die Ukraine sehr, sehr ernst nimmt. Und es sind hier 27 Bündnispartner, aber auch die NATO ist hier mit im Spiel. Man muss das natürlich alles koordinieren, aber so wie ich das auch im Parlament mitbekomme und auch in Brüssel mitbekomme, ist alles in höchster Alarmbereitschaft. Also dieser Fall, dieses Risiko eines Weltkrieges war, glaube ich, noch nie so hoch wie jetzt.
Hunderttausende von der Roma-Minderheit leben eben auch in der Ukraine. Hast du Kontakt aufnehmen können und wenn ja, wie ist ihre Situation im Moment?
Im Moment ist es sehr schwer, Kontakt in die Ukraine aufzunehmen. Ich habe es versucht und wir haben ja heute einen Gast da, mit dem ich dann versucht habe und wir haben dann auch Kontakt aufgenommen. Zum Glück war sie dann schon in Deutschland und konnte flüchten. Wie gesagt, der Informationsfluss ist sehr mager und sehr schwierig im Moment über die Minderheit. Wir wissen auch von Menschen mit Romanes-Hintergrund, von Männern, die auch in der Armee aktiv sind und und für ihr Land kämpfen, das wissen wir auch. Aber wir hören aber auch von Diskriminierung immer noch bei der Ausreise zum Beispiel von schwarzen Menschen oder von Menschen mit Romanes-Hintergrund, aber auch von einer rassistischen Behandlung von Zeugen Jehovas.
Wir kommen da gerne nochmal gleich zurück, was die politische und rechtliche Situation angeht. Aber zunächst ein Hello zu dir, Zola. What is the situation in Ukraine at the moment and what is the situation of the Roma minority?
Yes, hello colleagues. And thank you for having me today to talk about Ukraine. The situation, of course, is unfortunately very difficult. As you know that Putin started the war against Ukraine on 24th of February, and since then the main cities, including the capital, Kiev, Kharkiv, Sumy, Zaporizhia and many others are under attack. The Russian army is bombing the cities, destroying the infrastructure, killing civilians and children. Speaking about the Roma community, we are now, of course, all in the same situation during the war. And there are people who stuck in the regions like Chernigiv region, where people cannot be evacuated, or Kharkiv region as well, Kiev region, very difficult to evacuate people, and Roma are staying there as well. And there are there is a big number of Roma people who moved to the west of Ukraine and trying to find some accommodation and to stay for some time on the west of Ukraine. The Roma organizations from different regions are trying to support Roma IDPs, Roma internally displaced people, opening the doors of their houses, but also, of course, the local administrations are trying also to accommodate and to provide all possible supports for people. At the same time, we see that many Roma decided to leave Ukraine and cross the border with Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. And here also I would like to say about the support which is provided by Roma NGOs from those countries that I say. And of course it's very important and valuable support which is so needed for Ukraine today. Speaking about the situation, of course, we see with tears what is going on with the cities, with the people, the life destroyed of many families, the cities destroyed, the infrastructure, but the spirit of people is very strong. They're resisting and they are fighting for their homeland and for the country.
What do you see at the moment as support from the international community, and what do you ask for, expect or wish to get as support?
Well, the support is absolutely tremendous, and we are very grateful for this support to Ukraine, and it's not only to Roma but to all Ukrainian people. We see the open borders, the humanitarian support, the accommodation, the information, transportation which is organized. Thousands and thousands of people already crossed the borders. In addition, the solidarity which is shown through the demonstrations in different countries and cities, which is amazing, and it really helps to many people to see that you are supporting us, Ukrainians, in our fight for democracy, for democracy and democratic values. Then, of course, the support which is provided by the world leaders in their decisions and sanctions against Russia and Belarus. And now we see that, of course, the special procedures regarding the pre-accession or accession of Ukraine into European Union is reviewed and etc. And this is extremely important for our country because, as you know, we started this fight for democratic values and joining the European Union in 2014. And we are still continuing this fight, and I hope that we will manage, of course, and that Ukraine will be part of the European Union and independent and democratic democratic society and democratic country. And of course, we also need support to our army, but here we get lots of support from many people from different countries, and Ukrainians also donating lots of money to support the army. For the future, I think it's also important to think about the long-term plan, recovery plan for Ukraine.
Zola, what are the next steps? What each and everybody could do at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment I think we should continue what we are doing because many people, from what I see in different countries, I'm getting many phone calls and messages from different NGOs and individuals who would like to help. and they're collecting humanitarian support. They're donating money to support people in Ukraine, not only Roma, but I mean people in general, but also there are organizations which would like to support specifically vulnerable groups, and including Roma people. It's important to work with the neighboring countries regarding the regulations and to make it possible for people without documents to cross the borders as well. But I know that it was discussed already, and it should be in place that all people could have possibility to cross the border. To develop a long-term plan, recovery plan for Ukraine, but also to think what will be the future of Europe. I think it's important because the situation which we have, the war that we have in Ukraine, shows that we have to have a very concrete plan, not only for Ukraine but for Europe as well.
What can the European Parliament or the EU Commission do to stop the war?
Well, here it's a little bit difficult for me to answer this question because, of course, the sanctions, the unity of the leaders of the European Union, the presidents of the countries, the joint decisions that they're making to stop the war and very concrete and specific actions. I think this is what is important now, that they are united and taking very concrete measures. And of course, as I say, that Ukrainian would like to be the European Union member, and I hope that we will be accepted, or it will be pre-association. I don't know what will be the decision, but all this is important and needed for the moment, and to continue all the work that was already started, just to continue it and to support Ukraine in all possible ways. So I think already very important sanctions are made and already in force. Then maybe just to see the long-term plan.
There are many reports about a feeling of unity in Ukraine at the moment. What are people who are there telling you about that?
Well, you know, the feeling of unity that we have in Ukraine is tremendous. We see how many people are getting together to protect, to defend the cities, the country, the villages. People organizing small teams to patrol the streets, the houses. People trying to buy food for their neighbors, especially for those who are not able to move or to go out of their houses, elderly people, and etc. And it's very impressive to see this solidarity. In terms of different national minorities and Roma, it's also it's absolutely great to see that they're getting together into different cities, joining the army to defend their cities and Ukraine. And speaking about Roma, I can tell you that we see many information, we get many information from different cities about Roma joining the army and territorial teams to protect their cities and their families. I think we all understand that we defending our country, our homeland, our families, and our houses, but that makes us very strong because we know that the truth is on our side, and Ukraine is very strong, and of course people are very brave. I think you already seen many different stories in international news about people defending their country, even old, like we call them babushki, like elderly women. They are trying to defend their houses as well. So it's every person is trying to do something. Like if they cannot go and fight, then they're collecting humanitarian support, and they're making food for the soldiers, or they're making Molotov cocktails, or they're checking the information, sharing the information. So we have millions of groups online where people are sharing with the information and supporting each other. So I think this war united the Ukrainian society like it was in 2014, but also the war in Ukraine united the European society and the European Union countries. This is how I see it.
And thank you so much for this interview, Zola. Lieber Romeo, wie viele Sinti und Roma in Europa, geht es natürlich auch uns hier in Deutschland so, dass wir beängstigt sind, dass wir besorgt sind über die Zukunft. Was ist dein Rat für uns?
Das ist sehr schwierig, weil man sich diese Situation gar nicht vorstellen will. Nämlich diese Situation, dass wir tatsächlich in einen Weltkrieg, dass Europa in einen Weltkrieg gerät. Diese Situation muss uns zeigen, dass der Frieden in Europa und in der Welt, aber gerade jetzt in Europa, sehr, sehr zerbrechlich ist. Und das ist auch im Europäischen Parlament völlig sichtbar, dass, glaube ich, fast jedem meiner Kolleginnen und Kollegen das bewusst ist, um was es hier geht. Entscheidungen müssen schnell gefällt werden, aber das ist nun mal nicht leicht im Europäischen Parlament auch, weil bei so vielen Staaten, so vielen Abgeordneten sich einig zu werden. Man gibt sich sehr viel Mühe, die Unterstützung mit Waffen, gut, das funktioniert jetzt soweit und kommt auch in Gang. Aber es ist jedem von meinen Kolleginnen und Kollegen klar, wir müssen hier wirklich schnell arbeiten und Russland tatsächlich versuchen, in die Schranken zu weisen. Die diplomatischen Gespräche sind natürlich für uns absolut wichtig und im Vordergrund, das läuft auch parallel.
Zola hat ja gerade auch ihre Dankbarkeit zum Ausdruck gebracht an die Europäische Kommission und das Europäische Parlament, dass die Grenzen auch geöffnet sind, dass man flüchten kann, dass Menschen flüchten können, ihr Leben retten können. Ich weiß, dass es Gespräche mit dem Auswärtigen Amt von deiner Seite gegeben hat, um eben hier auch darauf hinzudringen und dass es Beamte sozusagen an den Grenzen gibt, falls es eben dann Probleme mit Papieren, Dokumente gibt. Gibt es denn auch Situationen, wo es kompliziert wird, dass Menschen nicht durchgelassen werden? Und wenn ja, was können sie tun?
Wir hatten jetzt gerade eine Situation, die ich hautnah erlebt habe. Es ging um 8 Menschen, Jehovas Zeugen aus der Ukraine, behinderte Menschen darunter, die Ukraine verlassen wollten, weil sie Angst hatten. Und da gab es schon die Berichte, und ich habe die Berichte jetzt auch von anderen Gruppen, nämlich von schwarzen Menschen, von Studentinnen und Studenten jetzt erfahren, dass es Diskriminierung tatsächlich auch in diesem Fall wieder gibt, was auch aber völlig normal ist, denn auch ein Krieg verhindert nicht den Rassismus oder Diskriminierung, aber sind jetzt Fälle auch aufgetreten, in denen schwarze Menschen nicht in den Bussen mitgenommen wurden, sondern zu Fuß weitergeschickt wurden von den Ukrainern und auch Menschen mit Romanes-Hintergrund, die aus der Ukraine flüchteten, dass es da eine andere Behandlung gab, die nicht gerecht war und nicht gerechtfertigt ist.
Wie können wir den Menschen in Not helfen? Ganz aktuell jetzt die Situation derer, die geflüchtet sind in der Ukraine.
Nun ja, ich ganz persönlich als Europaabgeordneter habe noch am Sonntag mit meinem Bürgermeister von meiner Gemeinde telefoniert und habe ihm gesagt, lass uns jetzt zusammen gemeinsam sehen, was in unserer Gemeinde an Wohnungen leer steht und eine Liste machen und bitte tu das im Verbund mit den anderen Bürgermeisterinnen und Bürgermeistern auch, dass wir das sammeln, dass wir Wohnraum für die Menschen zur Verfügung stellen, dass wir schon da gewappnet sind. Das war jetzt meine Aktion als Bürger meiner Gemeinde, die ich natürlich auch als EU-Abgeordneter jetzt voll unterstütze. Ich selbst stelle auch eine Wohnung da zur Verfügung, wenn die Menschen kommen. Aber das ist jetzt etwas, was jeder machen kann in seiner Gemeinde. How is your family now in Ukraine? She is not here, she is in Ukraine. How is the situation there?
My family, on the first day when the war just started, they tried to leave Kiev from 7 o'clock in the morning, and they managed to move a little bit out of the city only 4 hours later, because it was so many cars and people, and it was really house and very difficult, like a huge mess actually, and it was really difficult to leave the city. All these days they were not far away from Kiev, in a village with a house with the basement where they were hiding from the bombs, because 7 kilometers away from them, in a small city, it was also it was many attacks and bombs and missiles. So they were in a very dangerous place. I hope that today they will manage to leave that area, that region, and they will be in a more safe place. They're moving at the moment. They're moving with other people to the west of Ukraine.
I want to ask you to, we know that the men in the age between 18 and 60 must stay there in Ukraine to fight for their country. That's the same for our people too, for the Romani people too?
Yes, of course, absolutely. Roma people are citizens of Ukraine, and they cannot cross the border. I mean, the men, as you said, between 18 and 60 years old, they cannot leave the country, but they can move around the city, between the cities. They can move in Ukraine. And we understand why we have these rules and why men should stay to protect the country, but it's also women who are joining the army in Ukraine and defend the cities and the country in general. So we have many women joined who joined the army. Unfortunately, one of my friends, female friends who joined the army in 2014, she died on the second day of the war. On 26th of February, she was killed in Kiev by the Russian army. And there are no words to express how much we appreciate the braveness of these soldiers protecting us and giving us possibilities still to have our country.
What do you think that many women and children will leave now the Ukraine, or they will stay there by their husbands and fathers?
The situation is very different, and it depends from family to family. From the situation, I have many colleagues and friends whose husbands and brothers are in the army, and that's why women and with children, they decided to stay, even if it's very dangerous. For example, in Kiev region and in Kiev itself, in Kharkiv, in Chernihiv, in many cities, and they do not want to leave the country because they want to support their husbands and brothers. So I think this support is also important for them, and they prefer to stay. This is their choice, to stand to support their men.
I have the feeling really that in this moment is a kind of overcome from racism and discrimination and a kind of unity. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. This is what we see today and during these days in Ukraine. The amazing unity of people, support to each other. It doesn't matter now the ethnicity or the religion. People are helping each other. People standing together to protect the families, the cities, the villages. And just now I read the news that 300 Roma came to local army and said that they want to defend their city. This is very important to see this solidarity, but I also hope that this united Ukrainian society will keep on working even after the war. We will be the same united and will not have any issues of discrimination. This is very important.
Thank you very much from my side.
Thank you colleagues for your support, that you are with us, that you are trying to do your best. This is very important. Thank you.
Herzlichen Dank für das Gespräch an meine Gäste Zola und Romni. Auch Ihnen, liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, ein herzliches Dankeschön, und wenn Sie möchten, sehen wir uns bald wieder mit den aktuellen RomnoKher News der Woche. Ihr Daniel Strauß. Acen Sastes. Bleiben Sie gesund.